Hello everyone, I'm Karen. Today I'm going to do another video. Today I'm going to be doing a video reviewing one of my favourite albums of all time that celebrates its 40th anniversary today, and that is REO Speedwagon and High Infidelity. Now in this video I'll be going over a bit of background about the album, a bit of history over the album. I'll show you my copies of the album, talk about each song individually and rate the album as a whole. So REO Speedwagon High Infidelity was their 9th studio album, but 10th album if you count the live album, You Get What You Play For, released on Epic Records on the 21st of November 1980 in America, and released a few months later in the April of 1981 in Britain, in the UK. It was their sort of 9th, 10th album, and they had been going for a long time before this album came out. They'd released their first album in 1971, but they hadn't yet made it big. They had a hit with Keep Pushing in 1976, and their live album, You Get What You Play For, sold really well. They had a great selling album with the album You Can Tune a Piano But You Can't Tune a Fish, which had the hits Roll the Changes and Time For Me to Fly. 9 Lives in 1979 was well received, but it wasn't big. And they needed something big. And they needed to release a record that would set the world alight and would be a big record. And if they didn't do that, their label Epic Records was going to drop them. So they realised that they had to come up with something or it was all going to be over and it was all going to fall apart. So the band wrote loads of songs and recorded them in the summer of 1980, between June and October of 1980, in a studio in the Crystal Sound Studios, I think it was, or thereabouts in Hollywood. And they worked on it for 4 months, but they basically played gigs. They did a tour in between because they'd been going for 10 years. So they did a 10-year anniversary tour, and they began to premiere a lot of these songs live for the first time as to give people a taste of what was to come on their next album, which was to be released in the November of 80. So so they made like these demos, and they worked on them, and they made studio demos, worked on them, and basically made this album. And so a lot of these performances come from these studio demos, which we'll talk about a bit later on. When it was released back in 1980, it sold massively. It was the best-selling rock LP of 1981. It reached number 1 in the Billboard US and number 6 in the UK. So it was a top 10 UK album and a big seller in the US. A lot of these songs were written during personal experiences with the band, like problems with their marriages and relationships, and marriages were collapsing. So a lot of the band members wrote these songs as a way of experiencing what was going on with their lives. And you can tell by the title High Infidelity, it's pretty much what everybody was going through at that time. And it's a sort of pun on the term hi-fi, because you can see with the cover, you get a guy, which is Kevin, putting on this record, and this woman who's putting lipstick on her, but she's not wearing much. Now, did a bit of research about this cover. This was shot, and they had like this male model come in and do it, and Kevin, and that is actually Kevin Cronin, the lead singer of the band, putting that record on. They actually had a male model come in and do it, but I think Kevin came in and done it, but to make sure it was right. So he is the one who's putting the record on, as you can see. He's the guy in the blue shirt and black trousers putting on the record. So yeah, we're going to show you my copy of the vinyl record. Now this is an original pressing from the UK from 1980-81. The back, the record player, these are all the songs at the top there. All great songs there. It has a lyric insert inside with it. Nice picture of the band. So we've got Alan Gratzer on drums, Bruce Hall on bass, Kevin Cronin on lead vocals and guitar, Gary Richrath on lead guitar, and Neil Doughty on keyboards and piano. And Kevin's played some piano. Lyrics to the songs on the back, and the information about the album, and people who were involved in it, and who plays what on each track, and who does what on each song. So, and the lyrics to each wrote. So there, and the label is Epic Records here. I also have another copy of High Infidelity on vinyl. I'll just show you that. Just this one. The cover, as you can see, is a bit dog-eared, and the record just jumped because this was the first copy that I had, and I pretty much wore it and played it to death. The spine's intact. The other one's a little bit tatty, but not too bad, you know. It has the lyric insert with it too. Epic Records as well, as I say. So yeah, but can't have to have 2 copies of this album because it's one of my all-time favourites. And of course, because I like collecting both vinyl and CD, I even have the CD of High Infidelity. This is the 30th anniversary edition, which came out in 2011. It has the original album remastered, High Infidelity, and as well as a CD of the Crystal demos from the Crystal Studio demos. So like both that were recorded in the summer of 1980, and a lot of these differ to the released versions. Like Shaking It Loose is an instrumental and does not have lyrics, and we'll talk about that a bit later. But there's a photo of the band there. That was used in the insert there. And I've got these 2 CDs, which are both from the REO Speedwagon Classic Years box set, which I did a video of. This is the original album. Looks like that. And this is the bonus material, which has the High Fidelity studio demos, the single edits of Don't Let Him Go and Take It on the Run, and a live promo with live promo versions of Don't Let Him Go, Keep On Loving You, Take It on the Run, and In Your Letter, as well as the Keep On Loving You 89 reggae version, which is a pretty interesting listen. So yeah, this has like a pretty cool Japanese single sleeve for In Your Letter, and that's the other one. So we've got quite a few singles, which we'll show when we talk about the songs in the album. So we begin the album with Don't Let Him Go. I like the fact that it just starts with the guitar going, and it just starts with the guitar like that, and then it goes to boom, 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 like that. And lyrics are great, you know. This is written by Kevin Cronin. It's a good way to start off the album. It's very like Bo Diddley sort of beat, but in a way the beat kind of makes me think of like Not Fade Away by Buddy Holly and the Crickets in a way, and it's quite an interesting, you know, beat to it. And so yeah, it's a really great opener for this album, Don't Let Him Go. And the lyrics of the song are about sort of you know, this guy basically saying to this girl, don't let this guy go. He might be treating you not right, he might be doing he might be not with the person you think, but just give him a chance, you know, just take it easy. And so yeah, that's what about. Then the next song is Keep On Loving You. This was the song that really launched REO Speedwagon into the band they were, and this was a change for them. They'd been like this hard rock band, but now they were going to a ballad sound, and this was their sort of first experiment with the ballad. Now this was the idea of Kevin Cronin. His marriage with Denise was with his wife Denise was sort of coming apart, and things were not really happy. Things were really rocky at home, and the fact that they were touring so much really made a lot of the wives feel impatient, and Denise was one of those ones. And things between her and Kevin weren't the best. But in this, Kevin wrote this song basically telling her, although he still loved her, although this was happening, he still loved her, you know. When he played it, he basically woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning, one morning, and went to his piano and began to write this song. And he played it to the rest of the band, and they were like, oh, what's this? But then they felt like this would be a good song. And so they Gary added his guitar solo to it, and the band added their parts, and it became a huge hit. And it was the first single off the album, which I have here, Keep On Loving You, because I love this song so much. And this was the first single. It was a #1 in America as the album, and a #7 in the UK as label their Epic. And this was the first thing to come out of the album. So a good first single, I say, and it's my favourite REO song. I did a top 10 REO Speedwagon songs. I might extend that to top 20 because there are loads of great songs. I did a top, and this was #1. No surprise because it's my favourite. Anyway, but yeah, Keep On Loving You is one of the best rock ballads ever, and I know loads of people love this song too. It really sort of got people's attention, that song. Next we have Follow My Heart, and this was a Gary Richrath composition with a guy called Tom Kelly. Now Tom Kelly is a songwriter. He's written songs for people like Roy Orbison and REO Speedwagon, and he wrote quite a lot with Kevin Cronin and Gary Richrath. And this is a Tom Kelly and Gary Richrath composition called Follow My Heart, which was the B-side of Keep On Loving You. So a bit of a coincidence, this track comes next. I like the guitar start with the and then it does this beat with it, and it's pretty good lyrics, good chorus to it, and this is where Gary does a lot of his greatest guitar solos. There's quite a lot in the instrumental breaks of some of the songs, so after the first chorus and then after the second, and at the end of the song there's a guitar solo at it. So there's loads of guitar solos in this song with Gary Richrath. Next song is In Your Letter. Now, In Your Letter is another Gary Richrath composition, but this is credited to Gary Richrath. This was written after the keyboardist's wife, Neil Doughty, had left him when Neil had come home from a tour and found a letter informing him that his wife was leaving him. She had written a letter to tell him that he was leaving, and the band were really, you know, they felt really sorry for Neil, and Gary because he felt sorry for Neil, wrote this song as a bit of sympathy for Neil, and it became a big hit. It's sort of 50s doo-wop, and Kevin has said that this song is sort of like a 50s doo-wop song. In Your Letter was the fourth and last single from the album. Didn't do so well, didn't chart in Britain. I don't know how well it did in America, but yeah, but I think it was an okay choice for a single. It's on Epic Records as well. Yeah, In Your Letter was the fourth and final single for the album, and it didn't do it as well, but I think maybe because the album had come out and more people had bought the album than they would have for the single, so I suppose so. But yeah, one of my favourites, In Your Letter. Yeah, it's kind of like a 50s doo-wop song, sort of, and that's what the band, this is sort of like, you know. And then the final song on side one is another big hit. This is Take It On The Run. Now this has got a great start. This starts off the great song. The lyrics, heard it from a friend who heard it from another, you've been messing around. You know, it's a good way. And this is also written by Gary Richrath. This was written, I think, when he was having problems with his then girlfriend Debbie. And it was originally a slow song called Don't Let Me Down. Almost like a Beatles song. And that's what the rest of the band felt like. They felt like that sounded a bit like a Beatles song. But then it was later changed to Take It On The Run. Now, while Gary wrote a lot of the song, Kevin, I think, applied lyric assistance because he's credited in the insert for lyrical assistance. So Kevin, I presume, had helped him write some of the song, but Gary credited the song to him because it really was his song. So, I mean, it's a great song. It was the second single off the album High Infidelity. And it was another big hit, number 19 in the UK. And I don't know how much it did in America, but I know it was a big hit there as well. There's Take It On The Run, which is my second favourite REO song. One of my favourites of the song. Now we flip it over to side two, we have Tough Guys. Now Tough Guys has become a staple in their live concerts since this album came out. It starts off quite odd. It starts off with like this audio, this recording a clip of this 1937 Little Rascals thing, which was an old TV program from years back. Basically, these kids talking, you know, and then it starts off into the song, and it's a great song. And this charted into the Billboard Rock Tracks, even though it was never a single. It charted into the Billboard Rock Tracks, and it's become a staple in their live performances, and it's one they still play live today. In fact, so yeah, somebody wrote in this, you know, Tough Guys is probably the best song on the album, but the line, they think they're full of fire, she thinks they're full of shit, could have prevented it from being a top 40, but I don't know, it doesn't matter. I think it's a great song. Then we get Out of Season, and that was written by Kevin Cronin. Then we get Out of Season. This is a Kevin Cronin and Tom Kelly composition. Lyrics are basically sort of this guy never thinking this breakup would happen, and even though he knew it was coming, it came at such a surprise, and now he's out of season. And it's one of my favourite REO songs too. You know, and it's a great song, Out of Season. One that doesn't really get played live a lot. In fact, a lot of these songs do not get played live a lot, especially Follow My Heart and Out of Season. Those are two that don't really get talked about or played live. So they're kind of like forgotten gems, especially this one. This was also in the Billboard Rock Tracks chart, along with Tough Guys. And they two could have been a single together. Who knows? Anyway, yeah, great song, Out of Season. Then we get Shaking It Loose. Now this originally started off as an instrumental, and you can hear it on this CD with the studio demos, before Gary Richrath, who wrote the song, added lyrics to it. And I think Kevin Cronin also did some lyrical assistance to this one too. Yeah, it's a really great rocker, really great upbeat rocker. And the guitar solo in the middle, right after the piano solo from Neil Doughty, it's just one of the best guitar solos I have heard. It's short, but it's one of the best. Especially the guitar solo and Take It On The Run on here, I think that's great. Now, the next track is Someone Tonight. Now, Someone Tonight, this is not a Kevin Cronin or Gary Richrath song. This is a song that is sung by the bassist and written by bassist Bruce Hall. And it's a really good song for Bruce Hall to sing and write. And even Kevin Cronin applies some harmony vocals to it, to the song. Yeah, it's great, one of my favourites. This is one that they've played live in recent times. In recent years, they've sort of picked the song up again and they've played it live a lot more. Now, based on like setlist performances on YouTube, they've played the song a lot more in recent times, I think. And yeah, it's a good song, one of my favourites. Then we get I Wish You Were There, which ends the album on a high and a brilliant note. Another Kevin Cronin composition. It's a great song, you know, really nice slow song. Lyrics are great, and the guitar solo by Gary Richrath in the middle of the song's great, you know. Not much lyrics to it, you know, there's only really 2 verses to it, and then a repeat of the first verse at the end of the song. But other than that, it's a great song, and a great way to end the album, High Infidelity. Now, the album as a whole. This album gets easily a 10 out of 10 because it's one of the greatest albums I have ever heard, and it's one of my favourite albums of all time. It's loads of people's favourite albums. Basically, after the album really propelled REO Speedwagon to who they became, and a really, really great album, although some of their later stuff isn't as good, you know, but this is a really, really great album. So, after this, REO took some time off and then would later record the Good Trouble album in 1982. We'll save that for another video. And then their record sales after that began to sort of things began to fall apart later on for REO, which we'll discuss in another video, which I think I talked about in like my band members continuing with that original members lineup, and I've discussed about it in the history of REO Speedwagon before. But yeah, but this is a really, really great album, one that I would recommend for classic rock fans. If you don't have a copy of this record, or if you've never heard the record, I recommend you check it out because it's a great album and easily one of the best albums of all time. And it's one of the biggest selling of all time too. So thanks for watching, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you for the next video.